I'm going to talk a little bit about entitlement. I had originally the name of my book was going to be Eradicate Entitlement, and I sent that out because I just love that. Well, I got the bumper sticker, right? I just love that phrase, Eradicate Entitlement. We're going to trademark that, aren't we? So, but what I found is I'm more married to that than maybe some other people are. That happens when you write a book and when you do things like that. And so I sent that out and got some feedback, and the feedback I got was, that's great, but let's not make it the main title. So the title of the book, as you see, is Ownership Thinking, but I did get Eradicate Entitlement in there, didn't I? And so I didn't change the name of the talk. So that's what we're going to talk about a little bit. So this afternoon, I want to talk a little bit about the bad news, and the bad news is that entitlement, I think, is really terribly dangerous situation in our culture. And so this really is a mission for me, and so I'm serious about this, eradicate entitlement. So how do I fight that battle? Well, I've chosen to fight it to the degree I can in business. And we talked about the why. What's the why? So I guess that's the why for me to a large extent, is how do we fight that? Because I think it's extraordinarily damaging. I'll talk more about that in just a minute. So that's the bad news. The good news is, and I'll talk about the good news, is that I don't think that's really what people want. And so we'll talk about why I feel that way. And then finally, what's the solution to that? So that's what we'll close up with today. And I'm going to have you do some things together in your table. I think that entitlement is becoming more and more pervasive in our culture every generation for the last few generations. And it's devastating to organizations and their productivity. But what's interesting, and I think, Al, you were kind of alluding to this, it's also devastating to individuals and their feelings of self-worth, which is ironic, isn't it, when you think about it? Because what is entitlement really? Well, we just talked about it. It's I should get things because I exist, right? So in other words, it's all about me. So people that are in entitlement are very me-centric. Well, logically, you would think that the more me-centric people became, the happier they would be. I mean, that seems logical, right? I see the opposite to be true. I think they become miserable. This is what I see. Part of what I've seen in our culture is that we've been fed this notion as adults, as parents, I should say, that it's our responsibility to give self-esteem to our children. And I think the same thing could be said of employers to employees. It's our responsibility to give self-esteem to our employees. We don't keep score, you just said this, in games anymore because everybody has to be a winner. So we're lowering standards, really, is what we're doing. I went to an event at my daughter's school some time ago, and there were 15 kids that participated in this event. They had a 15th place ribbon. So we're doing this to give self-esteem to our kids. But you know what? We lost sight of one very simple fact, and that is you can't do that. You cannot give self-esteem. There's only one way you get self-esteem, which is how? You have to earn it. What most companies, unfortunately, do is hire quickly and fire slowly. And when you hear that come out of my mouth, you know it's not a good strategy. So we want to take our time. We want to get the right people. And if someone's not working out, hopefully that doesn't happen very often if we take our time, right? But if somebody's not working out, it's our obligation, I believe, as leaders to do something about that. I want you to remember how profoundly unfair it is to keep those people on board. So the next thing is the right education. And so this is business acumen training. So in terms of the good news, which I didn't mention before, I've worked with hundreds of companies now. I think 1,000 companies we've worked with and tens of thousands of employees. So another piece of the good news is the vast majority of the people that I've worked around have the interest and the capacity to do these things. The majority of them do. They just haven't been given the tools and the information and the training. And then there's some that will choose to leave, and that's okay. So business acumen training and just business training in general, obviously very important if we want people to engage. And then the right measures. So this is where we get into the key performance indicators, the building of scoreboards. Alex was saying, you were talking about rapid improvement plans, and I like to use the term, drilling this down and really engaging everybody in these things. What's the term somebody used to work with me, I love this term they came up with, share the insomnia. Isn't that good? So we want everybody to be thinking about the same thing. So if we focus on the right metrics, and again, that's focusing not just on lagging measures, is it? It's focusing on the leading indicators, the activity-based measures that people get. And why do they get them? Because that's what they do every day. And that's what's really driving our financial performance. And then finally, the right incentives. And the most important thing to remember about incentive plans is they must be self-funded. and where people are really turned on and where organizations really click is in earning. Now, anxiety is higher in those organizations, but people automatically think of anxiety. They think of that as a negative emotion or a negative feeling. I don't look at it that way. I look at anxiety as being entrepreneurial energy. Statistically, these companies retain employees at a much, much better rate in the long run. We agree we're all adults here. And you know, adults do certain things and adults don't do certain things. For example, adults don't shoot each other. At least most adults don't shoot each other. I mean that figuratively, of course, but I mean, what I mean by that is this. If we want an excellent organization, people have to be willing and able to come forward with mistakes, don't they? If I make a mistake and I own up to my mistake and I get shot for that, what am I going to do the next time I make a mistake? I'm going to hide it, obviously, or I'm going to put it off on somebody else. I'm going to do something dysfunctional. If I have an idea and I try it out and it doesn't work, and I get shot for that, what am I going to do the next time I have an idea? I'm going to stuff it so it stifles creativity. So we don't shoot each other. We also don't hide problems. Because adults get that if we hide a problem, guess what's going to happen? It's going to get worse, right? So we acknowledge them. And then finally, and Mike loves this one, adults don't argue with reality. You can argue with reality all you want. Is it going to change it? Of course not. So what do adults do? They accept reality for what it is. And they do two things. They look for best practices to deal with it, and they make the tough decisions to deal with it. And they do it quickly. And that's what separates, I think, some excellent companies and not so excellent companies. I talked about eradicating entitlement. Well, the flip side of that is about creating purposeful organizations. And so that's, in my mind, that's what this is about too. It's about creating purposeful organizations. So that's what I'll leave you with today.